Is your strategy oriented towards clearly defined audience segments? Get some ideas out there that aren't just pitches of your project. You have to have some initial data to test if your strategy is working.
You've seen God knows how many businesses through Coin Fund. You see a go-to-market strategy. How do you know whether one's good or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I really look for and kind of look at is your strategy oriented towards clearly defined audience segments? Like, do you know who you're even trying to reach?
Mm,
I think that that's a really, really important piece when you're looking at someone's sort of strategy outline. And I think that that's often sort of left off because, again, it's that mindset of being so enthusiastic about what you're doing that you just want to share it. And I think that's
right.
awesome, but you got
Mhm.
to harness that enthusiasm and sometimes put it towards defining your audience and understanding their wants and needs so you can tailor your strategy accordingly. And I think when it comes to looking at just broader trends in the Web3 space, it's just understanding really which channels are active at that time and how the market conditions could be impacting those specific channels as you pull together the strategy because the market does impact them. We want to, especially from the beginning, I'm focused on, what people are building, what we're doing, and all of those exciting kind of more of the tech side of things than price speculation. But
Mhm.
those speculative groups and communities will impact the types of channels that are most engaging and vibrant during certain periods of time.
Mhm.
And it's understanding either how to harness that or how to select channels that to you feel like they will be a little more sustainable. And I think lastly, also when we kind of come to that a little bit is making sure that you're not just completely putting all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to go to market strategy. Like don't lean too heavily on one specific, even when it comes to a community channel, because if that, for whatever reason, goes away, I mean, we saw lots of, I feel like, turbulence and ups and downs with Twitter and X. Make sure
Mhm.
that there's other places for those folks to flee to and engage that are already
Yeah.
set before something like that happens.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, um, when you see one of these plans, what what does a good one look like? What kind of documentation do they need to have when you're looking through someone's go-to-market plan? What are the bare bones? What are the basics?
Absolutely. And, part of what I really focused on when I was doing this at Coin Fund too is I think it's important for founders and teams to understand like you can spend weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months on one of these plans. But is that the right thing
Yeah.
to do? Not necessarily. We work in such a fast paced industry that I think it is important, like you said, Charlie, focus in on sort of the bare boned aspects. And really, what I look for is kind of a document that combines a lot of different things. So I look for do you have your audience segments clearly defined and the specific value that you're providing to each of them? Okay. Is your overall go-to-market strategy a phase-by-phase approach, which I think is the most sort of digestible, especially for teams that are trying to do things on their own. They might not have like a CMO, CGO, or any of us like kind of
Mhm.
marketing people on the team. And by that I mean it's kind of understanding what does it mean for the general audience segments that you're targeting to become aware, and what type of content and pieces do we need to be creating at that level? Okay, so maybe general awareness is broader thought leadership on here's our thoughts on, you know, Bitcoin and what's happening next, or here's whatever's related to your project, but it doesn't have to be it's about your project, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Or, hey, like, here's why current, L2 scaling solutions are not addressing XYZ. Like, get some ideas out there that aren't just pitches of your project. And the next phase, when I look at these go to markets, is how are you kind of engaging on a slightly deeper level? This is when you can weave in a little bit more about your project, what you're doing, without asking them to take action specifically when it comes to engaging with your project. So, if you're thinking about scalability, how do you take it a little bit deeper and introduce that you're providing maybe a novel solution there, or that you are having some sort of like unique community perspective on what this looks like? And sort of the third piece of the go to market plan I look for is like, this is when people deeply engage. It would be more of that educational content woven into the strategy where it's like, here's your how-to guide to get started with us, because you have them and you've taken
Mhm.
people on this unique journey. And that is a really bare bones sort of example with a content heavy plan. But the reason I
Mm.
like those types of content pieces that focus on first sort of broader thought leadership going, evolving into how to's, at no point are you just pitching yourself. You're always
Yeah.
seeking to provide value in
Mhm.
some way. And when people get to the how to type of phase, they're with you and actually want to be educated and understand how to do it. You're not hitting them over the head with that way up here when people are just hearing about you. Another piece of the go to market, depending on the project and really where it's based, can be a regional breakdown. I
Mhm.
sometimes do include that and ask that founders really loop that into their overall planning process, because with those audience, that all important audience segments that we were talking about, sometimes their needs and wants and the problems you're solving for them are different, even if you say you have very highly technical devs as one of your segments. But your highly technical devs based in New York City have different wants and needs potentially than your highly technical devs that are based in India. So, really understanding how you position yourself and draw them through this sort of journey with you as part of the go to market strategy is very important. And again, it sounds, I think, a little overwhelming at first, but when you break it down into these simple phases with these simple buckets where you first establish your understanding of the audience and why you're doing anything for them and what problems you're solving,
Mhm.
then outline a clear and simple journey, weave in some regions if you need to or want to, if that's relevant for your project, you have a pretty good starting point for what you need to do and what you're really testing against. So that's another really, I think, important part. Not, you have to have some initial data to test if your strategy is working, but I think designing everything with testing and iteration in mind is essential.
That was a very complete answer.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm.
It was just like,
That's a
I
great answer.
tried. Yeah.
I thought like 3 or 4 questions over the course of that. I mean, one of the pieces that I have to sort of put in is and something that basically quote Liam on, you've got to deliver value first. So it's got to be that Gary Vaynerchuk book that you keep bringing up, chap, which is jab, 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 right hook. Like you can't just go to market and just say buy my stuff. You've actually got to start a conversation, have the bring the potential prospect on a journey, or bring your audience, your potential audience member on a journey that's like, okay, I'm going to really read your piece, understand what it is that you guys are about, and then do like understand the need or the problem or the wider sort of reading around the issue before you're like, okay, buy my stuff. Like
Mhm.
there is that's what they say, which is like provide value, provide value, provide value, and then right hook with the ask. That is that have I got that right, Liam?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. From
Right,
my point of
perfect.
view, yeah. I'd love to know
And
whether Kelsey agrees. Do you
what do you agree, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think that value oriented approach is key. You want to be offering something as often and as much as possible in my mind. And I think sometimes it can seem like that something has to be some sort of prize or financial incentive, but that something is valuable content, it's education, it's camaraderie in a community. There's a lot of forms that can take, and you should just be endlessly oriented towards that over specific asks.